Okay. So, you got any questions about
How did you remember that?
strings? Yeah.
They're their own data type. Because it says they're their own type. They're like.
In C++ they are. We're not talking about that today. We're not talking about new data types. String is just an array of characters. Right? It's just an array. So, in C, no, they are not. In C++, they are. So, today, I got 12 students, which is a record low, huh?
Yay.
Well, I think I have about 22 registered.
Really?
Yeah.
So what is everybody else?
There was a couple I couldn't drop for some reason. It won't let me drop the ones that have federal aid or something. I don't know, the others didn't, so it wouldn't let me. Oh well. Assuming they have all 22, right? I got let's make an array. So not even shown. Oh. There we go. All right, so let's say I have 25. I'm gonna lie a little bit. So I have student ID. So I'm having 3 parallel arrays. So I got 25 students, I got their students ID, I have all their points, and then I manually or calculate the grades. Now, imagine if I didn't have 25 students, let's say I have, like in my online class, like the minimum is 40 and I'm allowed to have up to 50, which is too much grading in my opinion. See, online classes are harder too for the instructor because there are more students, there's more grading to do. But then they drop easy too. So, I could make a for loop here, right? And try to keep my arrays a line. So I could do a for loop here. Something like this. Something like this. Of course, this is not allowing me for a curve. You won't like that, but that's the way it is right now. And then I will do, probably write some function here to calculate the grade. Or return to character. You know, somewhere I'll stick this function. And this is, of course, separate. Get grade, points, and then I'll write an if statement here. So for now, my default value I'm gonna say you fail. It's not you, but some other class. And then I'll write an if statement here, right? And actually, I don't need the ifs. Oh yeah, I do. I'll say okay. So then I can say grade I equals get grade points. So what if instead of just those three arrays, I also need to include let's say if you pay for the class, if you're in financial aid, or what if I need some name, address, phone number. So I'm gonna have like 20 arrays, right? Parallel arrays. They're gonna be really convoluted at some point. So well, the first information when I said name, address, phone number, those not necessarily means are unique for a student. That's more like a person, right? And a person could have a student ID, a GPA, and if they're paid, now that student is also a person, right? But not the other way around. Not every person is a student. So I'm gonna erase this for now. I'm gonna leave this. Erase this for now, and I'm gonna define what a person is. For now, I'm just gonna do a student, kind of like we had here before. We'll talk about the person later. So I'm gonna use this. I'm gonna do a type definition. Why can I write today? I haven't had coffee. This should be like the drive-through in the Starbucks. You can put your coffee here in the helmet of your motorcycle and just.
So dangerous.
Well, the thing is, if you get burned, it's when.
Yeah.
Well, if it's a frappuccino, it'll be fine, right? It's like when you're riding your bike, and then you sneeze.
Yeah, or bug in the windshield.
Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna define a structure, and this structure is making my own data type. And the reason to have this own data type is so you don't have this bunch of parallel arrays. It doesn't have to be an array, it will be just a single item, but it's nice to have it organized. So I had here before, I had an int, I had a double, I have a character, right? Well, actually, the grade is calculated. I will leave it for now in here. I had student ID, I had the points, I have the grade. But notice I don't have the array yet. So this structure, I'm gonna call it a student. So now the compiler is gonna see this as a data type. So here's my main. And yeah,
The function struct is.
it's not a function.
It's not a function. The type struct.
Mm-hmm.
The data type struct. In order for it to make its own student data, it needs to be inside the delimiters. Because it doesn't have a parentheses like the.
It's not a method, it's not a function.
Yeah.
That's the syntax to define your own data types. You put type definition, you put structure, and then you open, close, and curly bracket. And then at the end, you put the name, whatever you want to call it. The book uses an underscore T at the end. That's an old Neyman convention. Anytime you define your own types, we call those objects.
Yeah.
And those objects usually start capital letter and everything else lowercase, uppercase. And if you have more than one word, then you just capitalize the first letter. And I'm sure that will change again in the future. Right now, that's the Neyman convention we're using. It's not what the book uses, but it doesn't matter. So, now, student is its own data type. So like declaring a variable is variable type, and then variable name. I'm gonna call this computer class. That's the name. Variable type, variable name, and I can make an array here. So now, yes.
Ron, can you please explain to me why student needs to be its own data type?
That's just the example I'm using when you want to define your own data type. So I want to have an object. If you think of attributes, let's say you think of a wall. Then you start thinking the attributes of a wall, right? So let's say you have so a wall has a height, right? It has a width. Maybe it has depth. It could have a color on one side, color on the other side. It could have materials. You start thinking of a bunch of attributes, and you put them all together. So I'm just gonna use those three for the example. And this is its own data type, and I'm gonna call this wall.
Yeah.
Okay? So I can declare a variable type wall now. I'm gonna show you. So let's do one just for the example. I have a wall, and I'm gonna call it, I don't know, call it Berlin. Well, I could call it Pink Floyd, but. So, I define it as structure, and I declare that structure as just like another variable. So if I want to define what's the height of the Berlin Wall, I can say Berlin, and I use this dot notation, so I have to use a dot. And then I can access any of the attributes I did. So I can say height. What was the height of the Berlin Wall? I don't know, 30 feet. Just making that up. So then you can say Berlin that with, I don't know how wide was it. Let's say it was 1,000 feet wide. And then maybe it was like 5 feet. I don't know. I just made those up. So the idea is of a structure is that I can declare a variable and I can access the elements or the attributes of that structure using just dot, and then if you just type it, they should show up. The IntelliSense should prompt you. So going back to my student example, I can say I had a for loop, right? Can't remember. I had a for loop, and I said so I'm gonna keep it like I had it before.
Because I think, I don't know, it's a little confusing. I know. I know.
All right, so let me explain this here. I have an array of students, my whole class here. To access, just think of it just like this here. Let's erase this for a second. To access the student ID of that array, this is my array, right? The computer class, that's the array. That doesn't change here. Right, so this is the same as this. And then to access each element or an element of that array, just use the index, and then, but because this is a structure, I can access then either element. If I want the address of that, of course, then I'll just use the and sign. And since I'm going to ask the user for that, and then of course I had Alright, so this is the equivalent. what we have when we have parallel arrays. Right now, the only difference is, instead of having 3 arrays, one of ints, one of doubles, one of characters, I only need 1 array of students. Then I have to submit all the grades to the school. And I can have a method that records the grades, for instance. And this method, what type of parameter should it take? Should it take an int, a double, and a character? Oh, it's just gonna take a student. This is just another data type. And then this method only takes 1 parameter, type student. And then inside the method, I'm sure it breaks it down to save the grades and calculate your GPA and all that stuff. So in here, you can just say record grade here. I'm just gonna say recorded. All right, so try to type this in your IDE and try to run it, see if it works. So since the computer reads top to bottom, if you're gonna define a structure, put it outside the main, just like prototypes,
There it goes.
then you can use it later. Of course, this, you can put it, if you put it at the bottom, you have to have a prototype. Yes?
I'm just kidding. I think I accidentally hit a key and it's making a different cursor that keeps deleting, like it replaces the characters, you know?
The insert key.
What is it, insert? I just tried. Oh wait, no, it works. Okay, just kidding. Thank you.
So, try running this, see if it works. Let me know. Let's pause for a minute.